Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to add a clean HeadBob effect to your Unreal Engine 5 project. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so in the last video we added a camera lean, and in this video we're going to add a HeadBob just to go along with it. If you watched the last video, it shouldn't have anything to do with this video right here, so you should be okay if you haven't seen the last one. But yeah, let's get started. So first we're going to go to our first person character. And what we're going to do first is go find our event begin play, and from there what we're going to do is we're going to come out of there, have whatever code you have, and then what you're going to do is you're going to get your first person camera, so you can just grab it right there like that, and then you're going to get its relative location, and then from there you're going to promote it to a variable and call it base cam location, or base cam lock for short. And once you do that, what we're going to do is we're going to make a timeline. So this whole code right here is going to be like the actual code that moves our camera up and down, and this timeline is going to be what's doing that. So if you don't know what a timeline is, it's basically a node that allows you to manipulate values over a certain amount of time, right? So I advise you to go watch a tutorial on how timelines work, because I'm not really going to go over how they work entirely in this video, but I'm going to explain what I did with the timeline. So we're just going to go in our timeline, and as you can see, we made 3 different tracks, one called HeadBob Y, one called HeadBob Z, and one called Footsteps, right? And HeadBob Y and HeadBob Z are both float tracks, so if you need to add a track, just click add track and then add float track right here. And then Footsteps, that one is actually an event track, and I'm going to explain why in a little bit. But basically, what you really want to focus on is this HeadBob Z, because that's actually going to move our character's camera up and down. The HeadBob Y track is going to move the camera left and right, because in some HeadBobs the camera moves left and right as well as up and down. So here what we have is I just right clicked and clicked the add key, and that's going to add a key to this line right here, and we're going to add keys in multiple areas. This is essentially, yeah, if you see the points right here, so we have 0, and then we go up to 0.12, and the value is actually going to be 1. We're going to set that to 1. But all the top values are 1 and all the bottom values are -1. So if you take a look at this, you can kind of see where the points are. And then if you want to make it look smooth, because at first I bet it will look like this, right? It starts looking like this. So what you want to do is you just want to left click and drag all of the points, and then right click and click auto, and then that'll make it look something like this. And then use these blue lines to kind of make it curve a little bit better, so something like that. And just do that for the rest of them, and then it should look something like this. And then with the HeadBob Y, it's really just the same principle. Down here for Footsteps, this is just an event track, so you can just right click, add key, and I added 2 keys, one at time 0.25 and one at time 0.75, and the values can just be 0 because it's an event, so it doesn't really have a value per se. So once you get all 3 of these tracks in there, we're going to go back to our event graph, and this is what we're going to make now. So essentially we are setting our camera's relative location, and then the new location is going to be our base camera location plus a vector that we're going to make. So I just came out here and typed make vector like that. So from this make vector, what we're going to do is we're going to get our HeadBob Y and multiply it by value as well as HeadBob Z. I just made the value 5, but you can make whatever you like. But this multiplication is basically just how far up and down we go for the Z and how far left and right we go for the Y. So you make that into a vector and then add them to the base camera location, and that is going to be our camera's location over time of this timeline playing. And then from Footsteps, what you can do is you can play a sound actually. So I just got the character movement from the character, and then just check if it is falling and check if it's not falling. So get a not boolean there, right? And plug into a branch. So if the character is not falling, but the footstep is active, then you can play a sound effect. For the sound, I just chose the flashlight switch from the assets that come with Unreal Engine. So now we can actually test out our HeadBob. So just go into the TL HeadBob and make sure that autoplay and looping are both active. And we can test it out now. If we come out of here and then click play. And as you can see, our character's HeadBob is already working just fine, but it's working while we're standing still, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn off autoplay, but keep looping on. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to make a function called HeadBob. So just to make a new function, just go to the left over here, click the plus sign, and then name it HeadBob, like this right here. And then come to the event graph, drag that HeadBob out like so, and put it where your event tick is. I just have a sequence node that, you know, plays the Quake lean that I made, and then we can plug this into the HeadBob just like that. And then for the HeadBob function, it's going to look something like this. I'll try to space it out so it doesn't look too crazy. But first, we're going to get our velocity. So just type get velocity, like this. And then drag out and get a vector length node, and then make sure it is greater than a certain value. I set my value to 300 because this is the speed. So if my character is running at 1,000, I think that's his speed, 1,000, then we just want to make sure that it's at least greater than 300, so we know that we're moving. And then after that, we're also going to get the character movement, and you're going to check if it's falling, and then grab a not boolean out from there, and we're going to plug it into this and boolean right here. And then from there, you're going to go to plug it into a branch. And then if these conditions are true, then we're going to play our HeadBob animation. And if these conditions are false, then we're going to stop playing our animation, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our components right here under variables. You're going to see components, and then under there, you're going to see TL HeadBob. So just drag that out and then get it as a variable. And then what you can do is you can drag out get is playing, and then grab a not boolean from there, and then plug it into a branch. So if the timeline is not playing already, then we want to make sure we play it. So get the TL HeadBob and then just drag play. And then what you can also do is get a set play rate node as well. And what this will do is just speed up or slow down the HeadBob itself. So for instance, it will normally be set at 1, right? But we can change it to be 1.7 if you want it to be faster. Or if you want it to be slower, you can change it to like 0.3, right? So I usually like mine to be 1.7, but you can set this to whatever value you want. And then you can also later turn it into a variable. Okay, so now for stopping the HeadBob, just drag out this false, get that TL HeadBob, and then drag out and get a stop node like that. And then after that, what we want to do is we actually want to set our first person camera to be back to its original position, because if we just stop the timeline, our camera is still going to be wherever that timeline stopped at, right? But it may not be its original spot. So to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to get our first person camera again, get its relative location, and then we're also going to get the base cam location as well that we made. And then we're going to get a vinterp2 node, and that'll interpolate our value, our vector value, back to its original position, so from the current to the target. And then you're going to get world delta seconds and plug that into the delta time. And then you can set the interp speed to something like 3. And then once you have all of this, you can drag this return value into the new location of the set relative location for the first person camera. And once you do all of that, you are done with this system. So we can just come out of there, make sure that your HeadBob is connected to event tick, and make sure that TL HeadBob, the timeline we made, is looping. And if we compile and save, come out and hit play, now you can see our HeadBob is working. It's working really good. And as you can also tell, the footsteps are also playing as well.